I'm back.
In the flesh.
Yes, I'm out of Egypt. But you can take a girl out of Egypt, but you can't take the Egypt out of the girl. So we're here sipping Turkish coffee, getting ready for the event on Saturday morning. For anybody who wants to find out more about the trip to Egypt, you can join us Saturday here in the womb. I'm going to make Turkish coffee for everybody, and we're going to read our grounds. We've never had it done. It's super fun to find your future, find your messages in the coffee grounds, and just talk about Egypt and all the magic we experienced there.
Yeah, can't wait. Yeah. I may not wait until then. We interrupt Ruth in the show. Really get all the details. My trip over.
Yes. We are definitely going. We just don't know when yet, but stay tuned.
Yes.
Today's show actually comes kind of out of Egypt for me. People who've listened to me at all know that the goddess Isis came to me in Egypt on my first trip there back in 2017, letting me know that it's up to women to save humanity. And I know some of you are going to grumble about that, but you gotta hear the whole thing out. And hi, Pam. I want to say hi. So, and when I say this, I know men take this as a male bashing, and I just want to say straight up front, none of this is male bashing at all. And this is not about men versus women. It's not anybody being better than anybody else. This is about restoring the balance of the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine. And we say that this is up to women because we need to heal ourselves and step out of this dominant masculine energy that doesn't serve us. It doesn't serve humanity. Yes, the feminist movement served a purpose in trying and turning things up and starting to create some balance there. But the reality is that the sacred feminine energy, which both men and women have, has been beaten down to a pulp, and it needs to get restored so that the sacred masculine can also come forward and we can create a balance. And so going back to Egypt, there were constant reminders of that message. And, some of it came through for much of my trip, did not see any women anywhere. It was like they were non-existent. I'm like, this is not okay. This is not okay. And but it was like, the internet always knows what I'm thinking. Like, it doesn't even know what I'm saying. It knows what I'm thinking. And so my awareness came to this documentary on Netflix, The Manosphere, Louis Theroux. If you're listening out there, yes, we want to balance that out. We want to do a documentary with us. So give us a shout out. Yeah. But so I don't know if our audience has seen this, and I will say, if old Julietta had watched that documentary, I would have been putting my boxing gloves on and I would have been ready for a fight. But this Juliet is a little bit more evolved and could see things through a lens of love and compassion. And it's just a symptom of society. It's not a man problem. It's not a woman problem. It's a symptom of the society as a whole. And it's time for us to start changing this.
I believe so. I agree with you. Yeah, I have to say, when you first brought me the idea to watch the show, because to prepare for this, so I told you before, I did a little R&D, and buckled myself in. I really didn't want to watch it, and I had it. Okay, I can do this. Let me set my attention and sit there and receive what it has to teach me. And it really worked out better than I thought. And it was better. Actually, well done. So good job, Louise. But it's something that we do need to watch, because if it's not here in our awareness of what really is going on out there, how could we deal with it? How could we help to manage or integrate balance the things that we want to do? So I'm really happy that I watched it. I think it's a great job, well done. I had more of a feeling for the men that were being interviewed and looked at in their lives. I had originally, as soon as I saw it, I thought of all the psychological wounding that put them into that position, that they were showing themselves to be, trying to grab hold of the masculine, really the toxic masculine, because we saw some of the oppressive ways with women that they portrayed their lives to be. And it really truly was how they lived and how they thought about the opposite sex and what their relationship was like. Something that we would never partake in, but there are women and men living like this. And they're just, because of all of the dynamics that they grew up in, for sure. And I want to say that Luther really dove into their past and where they came from, which was clear to see how they were shaped, really made a difference on their outlook of the world. And really the crux of it to me was that they were struggling to find a place in society. They were struggling to have worth, these men. They were struggling to have purpose. They were struggling to have status. And that came with money. So it was all about financial success, really, and power. And then the way they walked into the world, whether it be one was a podcaster, the other one was a businessman. I forgot the other one. He just was like I think it was on YouTube. Sorry, go ahead.
More like an influencer, but also financial advisor of sorts.
Yeah.
And the one thing that really got me about a lot of this was too, is that these grown men are influencing young boys.
Yes.
Sometimes, like teenagers, but also very, very young boys.
So.
And, disturbing in how, I think back to the scene where he's hitting the punching bag and then he has hit it, and just kind of like, what kind of man are you if you don't have physical strength? And and they're, when they get asked about if they're in a monogamous relationship and saying
one way.
A one-way monogamous. So the women are expected to be monogamous, but the men are not. And
that was a really revere. It just reminded me of the concubines and the harems and the way it used to be. That masculine dictator, right? And it just, that's the part that kind of makes my blood boil.
And saying that women shouldn't vote.
Right. That oppressive way that we've tried to overcome all these years, right? But it's been that way for a very, 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 very long time, thousands of years.
And so it's, as evolved women here, it's so easy to sit and recognize that this is all their fear. It's all coming from fear. And it's not on just them. It's also on us as women. Like, we, over the years, especially through the feminist movement, basically made them obsolete. Like, we don't need you. We're strong, we're independent, we can do it all ourselves. And so this is them, like, fearful of not being needed. And so we got to force our way back into control so that we have meaning here on this planet. I do want to just make sure you saw they can't hear you, so you got to talk.
Oh, okay. Let me get closer. Louder.
Closer to the mic.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, so like I said, Isis told me it's up to us women to save the world.
Isis.
And this comes from us healing our wounds, us being vulnerable enough to take responsibility, take our power back, and step into the sacred feminine. And I think historically they've tried to say that the feminine is the weaker. And it's not.
No.
It's just the strength lies in different qualities. And so learning to access your strength through the sacred feminine.
Yes.
And allowing men to be the men and allowing them to show their sacred masculine so that they don't have to opt into that toxic masculinity. And we, I think, yes, good things came from the feminist movement. I think we needed that to create the shift. But now that shift has happened, it's time for us to step out of that masculinity and really bring forth the sacred feminine to restore the balance. And, I see a lot of women's posts out there, like, wanting to put women in charge and just take over. And it's not about that either. It's not about one or the other. It's about both. Balance. It's about the balance. Yeah. And, the world that we're witnessing out there right now is
not a balance.
It's because of the lack of balance. And do you think that the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine would allow what's happening out there? No. Absolutely not. No. That out there is a symptom of fear.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Everybody is afraid of, the list goes on and on. Not having enough, not all the things. And so they're trying to use force to make sure that they're going to be safe, that they're going to be okay. Yes. But that doesn't make the rest of the world okay.
No. And I think that the men that are on the show, and it's portrayed exactly the way Julietta is mentioning about fear. They're fearful of not having a place in society, not being useful, not being heard, not having status. And it really, I remember one scene of one man saying, well, women come into this world with a purpose. They have a womb, they can give birth. I'm like, that's not the only thing, but all right, so we've got to do some educating. At the same time, women, you're just as, and I don't want to put blame on anybody here, but you're just as powerful in a sense to teach a man how to respect the things that you have to offer. I mean, how can a man give a woman who depicts his, and this is going into, okay, how does the woman reflect my manhood? Who is it that I'm picking to share my life with so closely that it reflects the feminine that I believe is the one that best, right, reflects my own feminine if I'm a man. And when these men pick these women who are barely there, they are being told what to do, how to do it, where to live, how to live, whether it's just home, taking care of the kids, barefoot, cleaning and in the kitchen, if they're back in that state, women, what are you doing? What are you doing? Now, and I know some of them just want that. They want that sense of safety. They want to be taken care of. And the man happily fulfills that position with some rules of, for example, being the only one to have polygamy going on. And they're going to say, okay, yeah, you don't need to sleep with any other men. I'm enough for you. I'm going to create this beautiful home for you. I'm going to take care of you, but you got to do what I say. So women, what are we doing? Yeah, we want to take back our power and balance things out. But if you give your power away to the masculine in the only way the masculine knows how, in the toxic way, they're never going to learn any differently. They're not going to understand the divine feminine and the powerful divine feminine that we are. That we are. So what are we? And we keep loving to talk about this, right? We're the intuitive, we're the creative. And to tell you the truth, we were the healers way back in the day. Coming from Egypt, I know my friend here had a nice, powerful experience with the goddesses that very much left their imprint and their energy on that land.
You know, back in ancient times,
Yeah,
it was both the men and the women there together. And, you know, things got messed up along the way.
Yes.
And then as they started to get messed up, it got even more and more messed up. And so, but I think, you know, humanity went through a lot of transitions, changes, and I think that we've made enough leaps in areas of, I'll just say survival, you know, because for a long time that was it, figuring out how do we survive in the world today.
Yes.
And, you know, now you can walk to the corner and buy your groceries at the supermarket, you know, and not everybody.
No hunters and gatherers needed.
Right. And so people are waking up.
Yeah.
And, you know, even just looking at my journey over the past 30 years in the spiritual realm, like looking where things were, it was rare for me to find somebody that I could have these conversations with. And now, you know, I have these conversations all day, every day with lots of different people. And just seeing what's available information wise, you know, I look at my social media feed is flooded with spirituality. YouTube is flooded with spirituality. You know, we have Gaia TV, that, you know, a whole entire platform dedicated to this kind of information. So people are waking up, and it's time to commit to doing the work. Like there's no excuses anymore. It's time to create the change. And I see, you know, what's going on with the war and the Epstein files and all of these things. It's really it's like the fork in the road is here, and we get to go one way or the other. And this is like the huge wake up call for us, you know, and you have the choice right now. Do you keep giving your power away and keep going this direction? Or do you step up and stand in your power? And that does require some work. It requires some healing within. It requires you accepting responsibility for yourself. It requires that you stop blaming external forces for what's going on in your life. And yeah, that can be a little bit scary. But the more you do it, the more you recognize your power, and the easier it becomes. And you don't have to do it alone.
Exactly.
Like, this is why we create community, and this is why we have these conversations online, so that you can see you're not alone in these experiences. And together we can shift and change and create the world that is pleasurable, is joyful, is comfortable for all of us, not some of us. And it's fear that creates the competitiveness. Yes. And on the way to our hotel in Cairo, these buildings had signs on them, but one of them said think win-win. And so, like, we drove by that twice a day for several days, and I was just like, yes, win-win. Like, that is the mindset to live in all the time. And so, like, in the Manosphere, it's like the men are trying to win, and in the feminist movement, the women are trying to win.
Right.
And it's not about either winning. It's about both winning.
Right. Right.
Both.
Both. I know. That is your favorite word. That's your favorite. Like mine is unity. And it's really the same. When you realize that the other is actually a part of you, because we all come from one. You're not going to treat that other as something outside of you that has to be dealt with to go away. No, you're going to work with what you have to work with, and that's what's inside. And when you shift, they shift. And if you haven't tested this out yet, it's a good practice. When you shift what you feel, okay, even towards that other person, that other being, that relationship, that partner, whoever it is, you shift, they shift. If you're angry at them for something, look inside and find that anger that you have within yourself and heal it and don't blame them for it. When you heal it and you love it and you accept it, and okay, you've got some anger, but you can deal with it and not push it out there on in projection onto somebody else, things are going to shift, things are going to change. And that's how we start with the relationship with our men. Yes.
Yeah. Well, and I think, like I said, if old Julietta had watched Manosphere.
Oh, yeah, me too.
There would have been a fight.
There would have been. Absolutely. How dare they?
How dare they? Exactly. And, now I can see it for what it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I know so many women out there are watching that show and they're putting up their dukes. They're ready for a fight. And what the goddesses and what I, Julietta, am asking is to try something different and recognize that what they are doing comes from a space of fear and lack of love. And it doesn't mean what they're doing is right, and it doesn't mean that they should continue doing it. What it means is that by us choosing a different response, by us choosing to step into our sacred feminine, by us creating the space for them to step into their divine masculine, we can change the world.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. That's the bottom line. That's why we do everything we do here. That's why we have the community, because we are making small changes within ourselves, within the people that are in our physical, right, near distance. And we're talking about these things and we're being aware about these things so that when we disperse and go into other dynamics, whatever relationship outside the community is, we're bringing all of that with us and we're changing, therefore everybody else is changing that we come in contact with. The energy changes from, we're energetic people, we understand it, we feel it. But for those of you that maybe think that this doesn't sound, what are they talking about with energy, don't even worry, because I know there are a lot of people that are listening to us that are, they don't get it. But energy is, just think about your moods, right? And your feelings. That's energy. Okay. It's putting out into the space what you feel. Okay. So if you feel love, if you feel compassion, if you could see the other person as, an individual that is struggling and why they're struggling, just ask yourself why. When we watch this Manosphere show, for example, I immediately went to, why are these men acting like this? And I immediately went to their childhood and their mother, because a lot of, unfortunately, and it goes both ways, a lot of women have done not so great things to their boys, okay, and their men. So that's why they're on the defensive. That's why they're in that competitive mode to power and dominate. So, you have to look at that other as, why are they acting like this? What is it? And have some compassion. Have a lens of compassion to look through, because that's going to change the way you see them. And therefore, that's going to change the way they see themselves and the way they act towards you. Because how could you come at somebody with such anger and a power struggle if all they're giving you is compassion and love? It will dissipate. Try it.
I do have to say, we oftentimes want people to change, and like we try and tell them how to change and how they should be and how they should behave. That never changes anybody.
Yeah, that's true. It just makes them more angry.
Exactly. And resist and don't tell me what to do, because I'm going to do exactly the opposite. But when you show up differently, when you show up in a space of love and compassion and understanding, people will change around you. All the time, people come and see me every day to work on whatever problem in their body, and the emotional stuff always comes up. And I can't tell you how many times people, I tell them, you change how you are, and the people around you are going to change. And they all start in the space of, no, that's not going to happen. And then they come back and they're like, oh my God, you're not going to believe this. I'm going to believe this because I've heard the story too many times. Yes. But when you change you, the people around you change. Yeah. It can't not happen. It's part of the frequency in the field. Yes. And you can't be in a certain frequency and not attuned to that frequency. So, if you don't like how the people around you are behaving, change you and see what happens. If they still don't change, it might be an indication the universe is like, hey, this ain't your tribe, move on. That's a possibility. But in general, you will see the people start to shift and change. And then that also makes it easier for you to make even more change. And eventually, you'll all get to a beautiful space.
I love it. I just want to do one of these.
Yes.
I'll just make it happen.
Yes, I dream of genies.
I dream of genies. Me too. Oh, Tabitha.
Bewitched, yeah. All my favorite shows.
Exactly. Me too.
Yes, it's like, take a deep breath. So I will say, if you have not watched the show, I'm not going to lie, I was resistant to watching the show as well. But I'm like, it's showing up in my feed for a reason. Let me check it out. Let me see what the hype is about. And I was like, this is, thank you, Louis Theroux, for making this documentary. And because I really was not aware that this was a whole movement out there. I had no idea.
No idea. I didn't either. This was a complete surprise for me. I didn't even know it had a name, Manosphere. I didn't even hear that name before. So, I mean, I think Louis did a great job because he didn't do the surface stuff and just showed the not so great parts of these men. He really dove in and asked them questions. So I like the way he did it. It was a compassionate lens that I feel that he did it through.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen it, I recommend watching it.
Yeah.
I would also love to have some of this discussion with some men out there.
Yeah.
And see what they have to say. And fortunately, most of the men in my sphere are not in that sphere at all. So, but I'd be curious to see their insight on, this surfacing out there. But again, it's just a symptom of society as a whole. So when we see these things, they are just the mirror showing itself, showing us what we need to heal. Sharon says, I haven't watched it, only seen some clips, but I would imagine it is a pushback towards women who have been led to believe that they can be men. And yes, that's exactly what we were saying in the beginning, that,
the response. Yeah.
And there's a lot of reasons for this surfacing, but yes, the whole feminist movement is like women trying to make men unnecessary in this world, and they are necessary. we're all necessary, every single one of us. You know, and not even talking just men and women. There's a lot of people in the world in many different arenas, you know, not just speaking gender here. There's so many people out there that are feeling not necessary, not needed, not important,
not worthy.
and not worthy. And so check the people around you and
empower them.
Yeah.
Because you love that word and you've been doing it for a while here to a lot of people. You haven't been with Juliet and on her table or talking in the chairs with her or in the community. It's all about empowering you. And it doesn't have to be a woman. It could be men too. Because I think that when a person, male, female, or otherwise, when you need assistance to become more of who you are in a very healthy way, in a positive way, you're looking for, support and empowerment ways that work without, crushing another, right? The competitive edge or putting somebody down in those ugly, ugly, ugly ways that some of this show actually display, because that's what the men on the show were doing, getting to the top in a very competitive and nasty to humanity and teaching these young men these ways. We don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. So, women, step up, take a little bit of ownership on, yes, the power. When you have a man in your sphere, what are you doing with that man to show them they're important? You can create safety with them and for them as well. You can show them that they have worth. You can show them that they are needed. You can show them that they are loved. So there's so many ways that we can step up and help the masculine understand that the feminine is there to support and love them, that it's not a competitive edge that they need to have over one or the other, right? So let's get our spheres together here. Sharon,
Sharon had also pointed out that the feminist movement is also designed to destroy the family construct. And, and I say this all the time because we don't want to shame those women that came before us. They were just doing what they needed to do to try and get some equality there. And they did the best they could with what they had at the time.
Yes,
exactly. And so thank you for all that you did. And it is time to bring the true feminine forward, not, like I said, that feminist movement was women operating from the masculine, and that does not restore the balance.
I know. We've said a lot.
But I truly, if you haven't watched the show, go watch it. We'd love to hear back what you think. Yes. I think it was done really well, and it was very eye-opening for me, not even realizing that it was a movement that's happening out there. And Louis Theroux, if you're listening, we'd love to do the counter documentary to that. And and it's interesting to me because, like I said, yes, the goddess Isis came to me and delivered this message. But after me receiving this message, I have seen so many others receiving the same message, whether it be from Isis or other ascended masters or through spirit guides, or it's a huge common theme out there that this is the way forward in the current situation. And I think that message needs to get out there. So we've seen the problem that's out there. Let's start putting some of the solutions out there.
Solutions are needed, and that's what we're trying to say, and that's what we're trying to do here, is give you some food for thought and really come up with some solutions that are practical and you could see the shift, because that's what we want. We want the shift. We want peace, we want love, we want compassion, all the higher vibration and the feelings and the emotions that make us human in a very well-balanced, peaceful sense. So
All right.
that's it.
Is this a wrap?
I think it's a
I
wrap.
think it's a wrap. I just want to remind everybody too, if you want to hear more about Egypt and you're in the Fort Lauderdale area, come join me Saturday morning for some Turkish coffee. We'll read our coffee grounds, see what messages are in there. And I think a few of the other people that were with me in Egypt are coming too.
Cool.
So we'll just be my point of view.
Yeah.
Everybody's experience there. Super magical, mystical, healing, everything. And I'm still kind of in the process of landing. I'm proud of myself. I think I spoke pretty much coherently for being in between dimensions here. And so with that, I'm going to thank you all for tuning in and look forward to seeing you next week. Have a magical day.